This podcast is not sponsored or supported by any business or organization. The views reflected on these podcast episodes are my own. Please be aware I am not a medical expert, travel agent, or any other kind of expert. Hey everyone, welcome to the Eat, Explore, Love podcast. I'm Ashley. This podcast is based off of my blog of the same name, Eat, Explore, Love. It talks about the unique challenges in traveling around the world when you have celiac disease. Due to sort of popular demand, I decided to also record a podcast to delve a little deeper into my travels and the lessons learned along the way. I fell in love with Manchester. Out of all the places I've traveled throughout the UK, aside from London, Manchester is the city where I've spent the most amount of time. There were a lot of food options there for me, and I went a little bit outside of my comfort zone as far as the places I went to explore. So that's the lesson for the week. Do the unexpected. Welcome to Eat, Explore, Love, the podcast. Manchester is the belly and guts of a nation. Overall, there were a ton of options of places for me to try in Manchester. There was this little pizza place called Prove, and the pizza was not too bad. The staff was also really nice and super helpful and accommodating in me being able to figure out what I could eat, how safely I could eat it, things like that. So I definitely recommend Prove. There's a restaurant called Albert's as well, which is more typical UK, British, I guess, esque food. It had a little bit of a weird setup, and honestly, for me, as someone that has allergies, it was the type of setup that made me a little bit uncomfortable, and the staff wasn't exactly helpful. So you went into this restaurant. It was just basically a pub, and they wanted you to basically pick your own seat, and there's a QR code on the table, and they wanted you to use that QR code to place in your order. But if you had allergies, you had to go up to the bar and place your order. And depending upon if you were going on a Friday or Saturday night, the bar's really busy, so they're not exactly paying attention, and I didn't feel 100% confident that I had the staff's focus. But I will say the food was really good. I didn't get sick from it. So I guess they were paying attention in a way that I didn't expect them to. So I would just be prepared to maybe not go to that type of place by yourself like I did, because then it's, how do I make sure I have a seat for myself? And remember, because you have to give them a table number if you're placing your order at the bar. So it's a little bit of a hokey situation, but the food was good. Another place I went to go eat was another Heart to Feed, and it was a great breakfast place, had really good gluten-free options, and I thought it was really scrumptious. There's another spot, Zamuku Sushi. I went there twice. The first night I went there, I enjoyed it so much, and that's why I went back. I had soup, and I had little cucumber sushi rolls, and when I asked the staff, they had all said it was gluten-free. It'd be fine. No worries. The second night I went there, they said that they have different chefs that make the soup differently. So if I wanted to be able to eat there, I needed to sign a contract in order to have certain foods. So that way I wouldn't, I guess, sue them or get them in trouble if I accidentally got sick. I'm not sure what happened from one night to the next, because I didn't get sick eating their soup. I didn't get sick eating anything the first time I went there, so I was a little bit confused. So I think, although I enjoyed it and the staff was super nice, maybe be safe rather than sorry and don't head to that restaurant. A place that came highly recommended was Anchor's. It's a really cute little shop that does fish and chips, and it's only to go. You can't sit and stay there. So it was a lot of food that they gave, and it was at a really good price, and I really enjoyed it. I tried fish and chips for the first time there, and it was a great place to do so. Expo Lounge, there is a chain restaurant. I found it in a couple different places that I went throughout the UK when I traveled. And it had a very similar system to Albert's, but the system was a little bit more focused in that when you were speaking to someone and expressing you had a food allergy, they were definitely paying way more attention. I had traveled throughout the UK and that I came across Expo Lounge someplace else at a different town. I was dog sitting throughout the UK as a way to save money. If you're interested in hearing more about that, please feel free to write to me at hieatexplorelove@gmail.com. But I found that restaurant at one of the houses I was dog sitting at nearby, and I wish I had known it was near my location in Manchester sooner. It was really good, had a lot of different gluten-free options. Highly recommend that you go there. If you want to have these places written down where you could find them, feel free. I have them on my website at hieatexplorelove.com. So I was looking up things that I could do in Manchester. I really didn't know a lot about it other than it being near Liverpool, and it was a good place to be if I wanted to go and do my Beatles tour in Liverpool. I didn't know much about it. So I looked online at different types of tours, and they had different tours of the soccer stadiums that were in Manchester. And I was speaking with my father saying, my father has a whole history with soccer and was a soccer coach and is a big part of bringing up the next generation of soccer coaches in the area where I'm from. So I asked him, of course, which team should I go and check out? He said you needed to go to the Manchester United Stadium because that had the most amount of history and had good amount of players. I went to go on that Manchester United tour. I knew so little about it. I didn't even know that this was the team David Beckham became David Beckham on. Just to put into perspective of how little I knew, how much this was outside my comfort zone. But I absolutely loved the tour, all the history that was there, all that I learned about the energy of the team. I wish I could have caught a game while I was there, but unfortunately I couldn't. But it was a really cool experience, and my sister is a very talented soccer player. My father has a passion for it, so I was taking pictures like crazy and sharing in the experience with them. And I definitely am really glad that my dad recommended for me to go. And when I watched the David Beckham documentary on Netflix, it's called Beckham, it was really cool to be able to see them showcasing the stadium and things and being like, oh, I was in that locker room. I was there. I got to be part of that. I got to see that. So I always have fun and get very nerdy and dorky whenever I see places that I've been on the TV screen. So had a really good time. I'm sure that there are other things to do in Manchester. That was primarily the thing I did in the weekend I had free. Now, for anyone that knows me, and as I said in the prior section, that I didn't even know that this was the team David Beckham was on, which is so incredibly ridiculous. So needless to say, I am not a sports fan. And when I was showing my dad and my sister all the different things that I was seeing, my dad was like, could you even appreciate it that you're not into sports? And if I were in high school, if I were talking to high school aged Ashley would have been totally disgusted with me for doing this. I was totally anti-sports. I grew up in a community where they praised our sports teams, even though we lost most football games. And we did not have a great community as far as supporting the arts programs. So I was very bitter growing up in an environment where everybody was like, if you don't play sports, then why are you here? Don't bother existing, is how I felt, and how some of us other kids that were in the arts programs felt at that school. I remember in high school when we would do what we called snippets, and we would do our performance of whatever show we were doing throughout the day. And people would throw food at us. And I kind of became making a bit out of it, because there was one year where people decided it was going to be lollipops that they threw at us. And I made a whole thing of it. But it was a mortifying experience. It was not a great experience. I didn't understand why it was okay to be so disrespectful to people just because their interests were different from what society deemed to be okay. So it took me a long time to come around and appreciate watching any sport, let alone a sport my father coached, because that I just did not want to have anything to do with, because no kid wants anything to do with what their parent does. Not a sports fan, needless to say. But as I've gotten older, I'm a huge New York Mets fan. I also got very lucky in the friends that I had. If we got a free ticket to an event, or I worked a lot of sporting events, I worked the US Open, and I started finding the similarities in theater and sports, and why both should be respected, why both are incredible to experience live. There is an atmosphere of being there in a communal experience that only the people that are there are going to be able to have the full impact on. Now, I know that they show sports games on TV, so you're able to experience it and be part of it in that way. But having the energy of in the moment as things are going on, you are seeing and hearing things that those at home watching are not seeing and experiencing. And it holds my focus in a way of going live to a sporting event that I get very bored watching on TV. I have gotten a very real appreciation for sports, in that I feel it is just another version of theater. It really is. For people that are sports fans that think that they are too cool to go and see a theater performance, it's truly the same thing. You're just seeing a different kind of performance. And I think it is its own form of art. And I hope that people, as we mature and learn more about societies, because through the internet, the world becomes a smaller place. And I'm starting to see it through Hamilton coming out, although I have my issues with commercial theater and people randomly just being like, oh yeah, I love the theater because I love Hamilton. That's not true, but that's a whole other podcast. But what I do appreciate is that it's bringing people in and giving a respect for the art form. And I'm trying to do the same with sports. And I, again, really love history and a good story. So I think Manchester United and being able to tour that particular stadium gave me a particular appreciation for the sport of soccer that I didn't have before. It was just, before then, it was just something my dad and my sister do. And now it is something with a history, with meaning, a way of bringing people together that I just really appreciate. I think, a big lesson in Manchester and with what I'm talking about here is being able to appreciate things that are outside your comfort zone, that are not necessarily part of your interest. Whenever someone offers for me to go and do something with them, regardless if it's something I would go and do on my own, more oftentimes than not, I try and go. The only thing that is a bummer through having celiac disease that I don't get to do is I was just offered to go on a pub crawl with someone, or for food tours, or going out and having certain types of experience that involve food, which you'd be surprised at how much stuff revolves around the culture of eating together. I am not able, I usually say no to those things. But if it's going to certain concerts that maybe I have never heard the artist before, or if it's going to a museum or a sporting event or anything else, I always give it a try. And I love going with people that love and appreciate the thing that I'm about to go embark on and try out, because I fall in love with it through watching the person I'm with having the experience. I fall in love with their passion for it. So then I start to become interested. And it has opened my world in so many ways that you wouldn't expect, to just start saying yes to things. And granted, if I'm busy, or again, if it's something related to food or drinking that not necessarily, I don't want to just sit there and stare at other people having a good time. That's not my idea of a good time. But pretty much anything else, if someone wants me to be part of it, I do everything I can to be part of it. So I had a really interesting time, and I'm really glad I went out of my comfort zone and went outside of my interest to do the Manchester United Stadium. I'm really glad I listened to my father in this one instance. I'll give him this one. But it was incredibly interesting, and something I have, ever since going to Manchester, carried through on other cities I've gone to visit. I do something that necessarily I wouldn't have originally thought to do on my own. And it's been completely rewarding to do ever since. Now, for the wrap-up questions. Do I feel the city is safe for those with celiac? I did. I did feel it was safe to have with celiac. Very much so. Favorite place to eat? That's a good question that I give myself. I think Anchor's was my favorite, in that I got a typical UK dish of fish and chips. I got a ton of food for my money, and I just felt it was a good, just typical UK experience to have. So of the UK restaurants as far as all the Manchester restaurants that I went to, Anchor's, I guess, will be my favorite. Favorite memory from the experience? My favorite memory from the experience was going to Manchester United. It was a really interesting time. I really, really enjoyed it. Is this a city to vacation to or live in? I feel like Manchester is a city you'd perhaps want to live in as opposed to vacation to, because there's not too much going on in the city of Manchester from what I saw, other than the soccer stadiums. But it is a great home base if you're traveling, if you're wanting to go in northern UK and even taking day trips around. If you wanted a home base that was kind of in the middle of everything, I feel Manchester would be great for that too. Is this a place to relax or be active? I feel that Manchester is a place to relax. How were the people? Incredibly kind. The kindest people. I was traveling with suitcases, and every single person that passed by me offered to help. And I kept saying, no, thank you, no, thank you, no, thank you, no, thank you. Quite literally, just like that, because that's how quickly and often people were asking me if I needed help. And I am very quick to say no to help from people, because I'm from New York. And when people are offering to help you, it usually means they're about to steal your things. So I'm always saying no, thank you. But these people seem genuine and very kind and willing to help. So I think the people are amazing. Love Manchester. Thank you for joining me this week for all the fun journeys and lessons learned on my big adventure called life. For more information on the different cities discussed, check out the blog posts on hieatexplorelove.com, posted every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. If you have any questions or fun stories to share, feel free to reach out at hieatexplorelove@gmail.com. Until next week, remember to eat well, explore the world, and love yourself. See you next time. This episode is produced, scripted, and edited by me, Ashley. Special thanks to Sarah Mientka.